As I said, I am the OPS project move team leader. Talked about our current project, which is ongoing at the moment, to move our largest object collection store. So most of you probably aware of the Pitt Museum. If you're asked to think of what the collection looks like, this is what most of you will think of, but not people who actually work in the museum. Like most museums, the majority of our collection is actually not on display. So we have approximately 160,000 objects not on display. Actually, more than that not on display, but 160,000 in our 3 off-site storage locations, which are dotted around in secret areas around Oxford. And we're currently working to document, pack and move the largest of those stores, which I can tell you is in the old power station down in Oasley Mead. So a probably important thing to mention is that ours, unlike most museum stores, then the objects don't lie idle in the stores. So, and the old power station probably has the most interaction with regards to your objects being retrieved for new displays which are in the museum, objects which go on loan, and more importantly, objects are always coming out for our really active visiting researchers program, which we have. Now, the old power station, as the name suggests, was an old power station. And then after that, it was occupied by the engineering department, who left in early 2000s, I think. And since then, the vast majority of the building has been underused, let's say that. So there's plans for the building to be redeveloped by the Said Business School, but that means that ourselves and all the museums which store materials there have to move out. It's not the first time we've moved. This is not the current project team. Our team have much less facial hair. But we actually moved into the building in 1973, so we've been in the building for over 40 years. And it houses everything you see here. There's a collection of clubs, there are mats, there's a plough in that picture, boxes of vessels from every shape and kind you can think of, ceramics, houses a large amount of our human remains. There's a bicycle in there, boats, everything you can think of really. And we're continually seeing like remnants of evidence of when they actually moved in, because they still have packing material that they used there. The Oxford Mail from 1972, strangely very similar topics to today. But there's found this interesting quote from an annual report from 74, where they're complaining about the lack of space in the store, and I think that's our biggest problem with the store, is lack of space. So I think we've never really had sufficient space to adequately store the material, and I don't know what they were complaining about in 1974, because this is a more recent picture. So since that date, another 40,000 objects have come into the collection since that time. And this, you know, this is when we were moving objects around, but it's a very difficult space to work in physically. But also there's a risk of damage to the objects, which is obviously what we don't want to happen. Some more pictures. So, you know, there are objects stored in any space that there is there. But it makes working the store really difficult. So retrieving objects for visiting researchers or visiting communities, it makes life very, very difficult to, you know, remove a large amount of this to somewhere else where there are similar objects stored everywhere to get to the objects that you really want. And this just makes it quite a hazardous place for the actual staff members to work in there as well. So, and this is some of our Spears collection. So we have a lot of hazards in the store, poison, arrow collections there, you know, a lot of materials that maybe we might not be sure of that are hazardous as well. For example, you know, asbestos in the collection, lead in the collection, mercury, all that kind of thing. So how will this move transform the collection? We have now currently got 8 team members working down to move, document, photograph the collection so it can be moved safely. So we're just preparing to move at the moment. We're not close to moving yet. And look how happy they are. So it was a rare picture. But the main thing that's going to happen, we have extra space now, and so it means that we're just going to physically improve physical access to the collections. So, I mean, this is a huge improvement for retrieval, the retrieval of any object for any reason, really. We'll have a location for every object. We want the object, you can go to the shelf and find it straight away. Here we have a before and after. So this is a really terrible example, and this is not how most of our things are stored, but this is an example of where poor packing, lack of space means that objects are not accessible for, for various reasons, for finding the object in the first place or assessing the condition of the collection. Also, the first time we've been able to fund the use of archival materials. So for the long-term safeguarding of the collection, it's out with the Oxford Mail and in with acid-free boxes, acid-free tissue. Like I said before as well, it gives an opportunity to look closely at every single object. And we're able to update the documentation for all those objects, so including types of materials, the processes how objects are being made. And all of these updates are not just to in-house staff and the in-house database. All of these updates are available worldwide through our online database. And so it just hugely increases access to the collections in that way. So at the end of this project, hopefully there'll be like 120,000 better documented objects in our database. And finally, I suppose one other way we're trying to transform things are through our dedicated Twitter feed. So a lot of the work which goes on behind the scenes in museums is quite hidden away. It's quite difficult to promote it to the public. But this is one way we've been trying. So if anybody wants to follow us, see some of the amazing objects that we're finding here and some of the work that we're doing, then please give us a follow. That'll be very greatly appreciated. Okay, well, thank you very much.